Welcome to Kean Carlisle's 199,983rd Subscriber Freedom Special, featuring the following guest stars.
The September 11th terrorist attacks, popularized by the book I Survived 9/11, shook the United States of America to its core. It led to a nationwide feeling of unity and extreme patriotism, and that was reflected in the world of film.
You mess with New York! You mess with one of us, you mess with all of us!
One of these films aired on August 6th, 2004. Disney Channel's Tiger Cruise, which is a children's movie about the military reaction to the collapse of the World Trade Center.
Sir! There's a second one.
Then tune in for the premiere of Disney Channel's newest original movie, Tiger Cruise. It all starts tomorrow at 7/6 Central, only on Disney Channel.
This is the scene right now from New York City. As you can see, emergency vehicles going down the street of what used to be.
Tiger Cruise takes place on a real Navy ship.
I was like amazed. I mean, the ship is so big. How does it float? It looks like it would just sink to the bottom.
Hello, it's a bit windy out here.
I got lost.
I think we should go after him with everything we got.
We don't even know who did it.
Oh, don't give me that. We know exactly who it is.
No, we don't.
Bon appetit.
Tiger Cruise, opening tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Disney Channel.
Maddie Dolan is one of countless teens who go on a Tiger Cruise, basically the Navy's version of a take your family member to work day. She deeply resents her dad, Commanding Officer Gary Dolan, for being absent her entire childhood by serving in the Navy. But when the attack occurs midway through the movie, she discovers a newfound appreciation for her father's line of work. I'd never heard of this movie at all until recently, and that's bizarre because I watched Disney Channel all day long growing up. I remember every bizarre movie they aired promos for.
Being a teen is tough. Being a leprechaun is even tougher. The luck of the Irish, a kid one day, and a leprechaun the next.
This was straight up not one of them, meaning they must have faded this thing from syndication by like 2007. We open with Maddie being unhappy about her upcoming trip to visit her father. Her little sister is played by Jeanette McCurdy, who has the smallest role here and yet goes on to be probably the most famous actor in the whole movie. She really wants to go on the cruise, but she can't because it's just one family member per service member.
But that's not fair! I want to go and she doesn't, and she's
Jeanette did a great job there. She really earned that paycheck for her mother. Maddie's never wanted to go on the Tiger Cruise before, and her motive for agreeing to go this year is a bit of a mystery. After this, we meet our other child protagonists. Anthony is an off-the-cuff rebel from New York who's going to visit his older brother.
And going out on that boat, that's whack.
Joey is a little comic relief kiddo who really loves ice cream. He's visiting his mom. Then we go to our next location. I love that they had to clarify that as if there's other locations that have the Space Needle. Tina is a try-hard, well-studied girl who's incredibly eager to join the military alongside her older sister.
Lieutenant Torres reporting for duty. Sir.
Tina!
Every Disney Channel original movie has a limited number of like 4 or 5 personality types that are then randomly distributed to a corresponding race or gender. These 4 kids are the result of this movie's mix and match combo. The only one we're missing is the scared sidekick. Tina's introduction leads to one of the most bizarre and jarring tonal shifts I think I've ever seen in my entire life.
Hold on!
Literally, couldn't you have moved her introduction earlier in that sequence?
Bye. See you in a few days.
Those could have been far better options to transition into the ticking clock. And this movie has a lot more insanely, bizarrely abrupt transitions that I cannot wait to share with you. They all fly out to Hawaii to board the USS Constellation at Pearl Harbor. Also, Anthony drums on the plane because he's a rebel. We're introduced to a former Marine named Chuck Horner, who's there to visit his son.
Navy's got it easy, huh? I was a Marine. We were lucky to have a soft piece of ground to sleep on.
And Chuck's a real patriot.
Enemy bombers launched an attack and Arizona took a number of hits. Sank in less than 9 minutes. It took 1,100 crew members to their deaths. December 7th, 1941. As FDR said, That's a date that will live in infamy.
I find it really funny that we branded the Second Great War as World War II like it's a movie sequel. Like, this is a genuine question. If there were to be another terrorist attack on a future September 11th, would we call it 9/11-2?
15 9/11s.
So everyone reunites with their loved ones, but things are tense between Maddie and her father, who's been demoted from the president in the years since Independence Day.
Dad, how many elementary schools did I go to?
Oh, Maddie, come on.
How many?
It's 4.
5.
5.
This movie has some incredible photography, thank you Mr. Seaman. So I've never mentioned this before, but I actually come from a long-standing military family. My great-grandpa served in World War II. He also most certainly killed my great-grandma, but that's a different story, that's unrelated. My grandpa was in the army for 21 years, he served in Vietnam. My dad served in the army for 8 years. My uncle served in the Marines for 20 years. And I'm a YouTuber. When I was about 8 years old, my uncle told me that all of the medals on his bedroom walls were for the terrorists that he killed in the Marines. And it wasn't until about 3 months ago when I found out that those are actually just for the marathons he ran, and he was fucking with me the entire time. And I believed that for a good majority of my life, that my uncle had killed several people. So anyways, shout out to the military, gotta be one of my favorite genders. Guess what? My unnamed father sat down with me to weigh in on the authenticity of the military representation in this film. Let's see what he has to say.
John Carlisle, I served in the United States Army for 8.5 years. I made the rank of sergeant, promotable to E6 staff sergeant, and was in 94 Bravo.
December 7th, 1941. As FDR said,
a day that will live.
That's a date that will live in infamy.
You said day.
Yeah, but I meant date, yeah.
We'll see him again soon. So it's a little hard to explain, but the entire first half of this movie exists solely to pad itself until the second half of the movie. Almost nothing of note happens before 9/11. We just watch the characters do random shit with semi-regular reminders of the ticking clock.
Please report to the hangar bay for the paper airplane contest.
Joey gets sick from eating too much ice cream. Chuck the ex-Marine spends a lot of time complaining about just how easy those pussy sailors have it.
Sailor can do it. I can do it.
It's just the level of like the things they have to do, you know, like in basic training and stuff. But I mean, all the services are good. It's just, there's just competition between the services, you know. Then Chuck mocks his son for working in food service.
Sailors gotta eat, right? Oh yeah. And I guess when you muster out, you can get a job flipping burgers at any joint in the country.
When my dad enrolled in the early 80s, he was initially going to go to the tech sector, working with computers, but one day, he was cooking scrambled eggs and just really enjoying it, and he was like, you know what? I'm gonna go into food service. And that's why we grew up poor.
The ovens look real. The way the rolls are on the pan, though, they're not like lined up like they would be like 6 by 8. There's like some here and there's a couple here. Like if you look at the way they were lined up, they look like the real ovens, the real sheet pans. You know, the real deal. The mixer looked real.
Anyways, we just keep cutting back to Chuck complaining a bunch and struggling to climb a ladder.
Should call this the USS Mount Everest. Hey, buddy. Can you give me a little hand here?
Anthony is told he cannot wear hats outside, and when he disobeys authority, he learns that everything they say is for a reason. This still doesn't explain why we couldn't wear hats and hoods in the fucking elementary school cafeteria. I'm mad about that. I wanted to wear my hood, and they were like, no, not inside. Tell me fucking why! Anthony messes around on the deck and almost rolls off the boat, but fortunately he doesn't learn a lesson at all. Maddie reveals her true motive for coming is to convince her dad to leave the Navy and rejoin their family.
After Friday, I'm gonna be home for a while. All right?
For a while. Everything we do is always for a while. When are we gonna get something permanent, Dad, huh?
I'm listening to you. I hear what you're saying. It's about the family, so we'll need to talk about it as a family after we get home.
No.
So I have a lot of family members who are constantly restationed. My dad grew up moving all the time because of his dad's service, so this rings as really true. Then Tina wants to get photos of her sister flying, so they violate orders and sneak up to watch the planes fly off. I thought for sure a gust of wind was gonna blow them off the deck, and that would have been iconic, but no, they're caught and they're punished.
Not very smart.
So Matty's stunt up on the deck shocks Gary, and he realizes that he barely knows his daughter at all. So he calls her mom, and he decides to leave military service forever, starting tomorrow. He and Matty eagerly, excitedly share a hug together. This is the night of September 10th, 2001.
And this would have been real, like, if they would have, like, he thinks he's leaving and going home to retire. If this would have been active, he would have had to stay and go. He would not have been able to go home. Carry on the mission, whatever they tell him it is.
Throughout the entire movie, the most whimsical and inspiring music plays over like every shot of the servicemen working. I feel like I need to bring up that this is one of the most shameless and blatant propaganda films I've ever seen in my entire life, to an unbelievable degree. It's a pretty well-known fact by now that largely every Hollywood movie which wants to access US military hardware and uniforms that aren't available in the open market has to get them through the US Department of Defense, who often provide funding and rewrite relevant portions of the movie to portray the military in a positive light. It's called the Military Entertainment Complex, the far less popular little brother of the Military Industrial Complex. Examples: Top Gun was created as a partnership between Hollywood and the DoD to restore the reputation of the US Navy following the infamously unpopular Vietnam War. Look at like any movie with military assets. Case in point, probably half the Marvel movies, and the Department of Defense is thanked in the credits. The best example is the Transformers movies, where a ton of the robots in the first three transform into military vehicles, and the US Army's on the ground saving the day. They made 5 of those, and not a single one where Megatron transforms into a gun for the other Transformers to hold like he does in the 80s cartoon. These movies have written agreements with the US government, they submit wish lists of vehicles and weapons they want, and the DoD makes such edits and revisions as change 1 male and 1 female Marine to 2 male Marines, as they infamously said on Dark of the Moon. The 4th movie, though, got the bulk of its financial backing from China. Thus, the entire 4th act takes place in Hong Kong and features Chinese officials acting efficiently and responsibly. Meanwhile, the American government starts aggressively hunting the Transformers down, none of whom have US military alt modes in movie 4. The DoD was not involved with Age of Extinction. All this to say, while the US government at least doesn't ban negative depictions of itself, it will not participate in them. Jarhead, based directly on a Marine's memoir recounting the isolation and misery of the Gulf War, was outright refused any assistance from the DoD due to it not meeting their requirement, despite it being a grounded and accurate representation of the war written by a Marine. Your wife's gonna fuck another guy while you're gone is not the branding the US Marines want to represent itself with. The movies featuring military hardware are certainly going to trend positively in their depictions of the armed forces, but at least those ones are like actual films. This brings us to Tiger Cruise, which is like a 90-minute long recruitment ad. It's just characters saying trivia about the military and commenting on how cool the military is for the entire runtime, and there's like nothing else.
F-18 Hornet. So what do you think?
2,500 rolls a day, and we go through about 800 pounds of cookie dough.
Typically it's a fight an egg just for one. You just don't hop in and start it up.
We get some great picks from up on the flight deck.
5 kilos.
I think it's very safe to say that the DoD had its hand far up this movie's rectum to make military service seem appealing and glamorous to a bunch of 8-year-olds.
He's so hot.
You're drooling.
Sorry, I just love those uniforms.
Yvonne et Miage. They keep saying that.
We have about 80 aircraft on board. We stood her on edge. She would be as tall as the Empire State Building. That's one of the elevators, a series of radars. And if you look up here, you'll see our red phone. This is where I dial out for pizza.
Otto, what are you doing?
I don't know. I just got an urge to join the Navy.
And let me tell you something, it's exploitative. People are mourning the death of thousands, and they're extremely emotionally vulnerable. And that's when the US government comes in and says, let's drive home propaganda and recruitment materials to make sure they're extra loyal citizens. Now is the morning of September 11th. Not like now, but in the movie now. It's not September 11th, 2001, like right now while you're watching the video, but within the context of in the movie, there's alarms, everyone's mobilizing, the kids have no clue what's going on. So true patriots might have a sneaking suspicion about what's going on within the film. True patriots might already know what happened on the morning of September 11th, 2001. Let's see if you're right.
There's a second one.
Oh fuck, they're just showing it on Disney Channel. YouTube doesn't even want you showing it.
Okay, that part's fake. Because they wouldn't have been alerted. They wouldn't have been nervous at the first one because they thought the first one was an accident. They thought the first plane, they didn't know what it was.
That's right.
But here he's saying like, oh, here comes the second one. It was when the second one happened, then they knew we're under attack. They might have put some people on alert, but not the whole military like this.
So now the characters slowly learn about the attack on the Pentagon, the crashed plane in Pennsylvania, and the evacuation of the White House. The music's emotional as hell.
Why is this fucking happening? It's the Disney Channel movie Tiger Cruise.
These planes were used in a surprise attack on the World Trade Center. Almost simultaneously, the second airliner was hijacked.
There are reports of at least one other hijacking.
It's now confirmed. The third airliner's crashed in the Pentagon.
It's almost like they framed that like the guy whispering to Bush at the elementary school.
The loss of life is expected to be in the thousands.
Again, it's just like, this is on Disney. Like every 2 minutes, there's a scene in this movie that I just genuinely cannot believe aired on that channel.
I think we should go after him with everything we got.
We don't even know who did it.
Oh, don't give me that. We know exactly who it is.
No, we don't.
Then tune in for the premiere of Disney Channel's newest original movie, Tiger Cruise. It all starts tonight at 7/6 Central, only on Disney Channel.
The crash happened at 9:45 a.m. Eastern Time. A jet hitting a portion of the building, which has since...
Here we are, maybe going into battle, and you're busy making cookies?
You don't serve our country, you serve omelets, bitch. Chuck is particularly disturbed by the attack on the Pentagon. It turns out his brother works in the wing that the plane just hit.
Chances that he was anywhere.
Eyewitnesses are reporting a hole.
Uncle Bobby's fine.
About 150 feet.
I'm sure he's fine.
What do you think, we can get word to him somehow?
Well, I'll find out.
And he becomes an emotional wreck as he begs Gary to let him make a call to his brother, which Gary can't do because all communication from the ship has been suspended for security purposes. This is the most somber and serious Disney Channel movie ever made, and possibly Disney movie ever made.
It's okay. Everything's gonna be okay. I just wanna go home.
Having grown up with like Girl vs. Monster, Minutemen, having watched some of the newer ones as well, I was just horribly unprepared for how genuinely seriously they take all of the characters' emotions. This is the only DCOM that does that I'm aware of. We just casually show children absolutely sobbing. Joey's bawling his eyes out because he wants to see his mom, but he can't because Gary firmly decrees that no service members are allowed to interact with their tigers, and all of their activities are to be canceled. Despite this, Gary gets to talk to his daughter like every 6 minutes of the movie, and for some reason no one seems remotely bothered by how unfair and hypocritical that is. They literally meet up like 4 or 5 times while everyone else is banned from seeing their children. Gary assigns his daughter to emotionally support the tigers and make sure everyone's doing okay.
So what do you think? Would you be up for something like that?
Aye, aye, sir.
Please, no sarcasm, all right? Not today.
Dad, I'll do it. I wasn't being sarcastic.
Joey and the little kids want to watch a movie, and Anthony's upset that he gets outvoted from watching the news. He's devastated by the fact that countless of his friends' parents either work in the World Trade Center or were firefighters, and he doesn't know how life is going to go on without those 2 incredible-looking towers and the Manhattan skyline.
Those towers. They were just there, you know? I never got tired of looking at them. They're so big and cool. The way the sun will reflect off of them.
And that's historical revisionism at its finest, because people fucking hated how those towers looked. It was hugely controversial. It was just like 2 giant filing cabinets in the skyline. It's like the Star Wars prequel effect, where now everyone just pretends that they never hated them all along, despite the fact that they clearly did. The sequel trilogy is Star Wars' 9/11, a tragedy which made everyone retroactively appreciate what came before. I'd also like to add that none of the marketing whatsoever gave any indication that this was going to be a movie about 9/11.
The back, the bow, or the front, the bow?
Pass.
The bow?
We call the front of the ship the bow.
That's the buttster.
Well, so now let's see.
Imagine being like 6 and sitting down to watch the newest Disney Channel original, which they've been hyping up all week, and enjoying all the musicals and songs, and then halfway through the movie, 2 planes strike the World Trade Center, and the entire country goes into a horrifying state of crisis.
Everyone, please remain calm.
No, 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 no! Bin Laden's gotta go. We've gotta go to Iraq. They have got WMDs. Join the Navy. Join the Navy. Join the Navy. Join the Navy. So I don't know if this is a universal experience, but growing up in school, our US history classes only ever reached up to the 90s. So we never learned about anything that was going on with the Bush administration in the 2000s.
I call upon all nations to do everything they can to stop these terrorist killers. Thank you. Now watch this drive. See you at church.
Although we did learn about 9/11 on 9/11 Day every single year. So K-12 had us learn about 9/11 on 13 distinct occasions, but we did not learn once why we went into Iraq.
Together, Grimace, we could own this town.
Everyone remembers where they were when 9/11 happened. I was still inside the womb, and I remember it well. And I also remember the day I found out about 9/11. I vividly recall that when I was about 4 and my unnamed sister was about 8, she explained 9/11 to me, and we are going to recreate the memory for your viewing pleasure.
As a disclaimer, I have no idea what he's gonna say in this video, and I want no part in it. What? Are you kidding me, Ken? I'm not doing this.
I am trying to heal a 23-year-old dagger that sits right in this nation's bleeding heart. And if you don't let me do this video, you hate America.
I am not going to describe my feelings on America. I'm just kidding. They can be described by Childish Gambino's hit single, This Is America. You don't even know that song.
I do.
No, you
He's
don't.
Donald Glover. He was Lando. This is how I learned about 9/11. We had 2 Hot Wheels tracks from the Hot Wheels Twist and Truck Trials playset.
Ken, you're so neurodivergent.
And at this time, these were considerably higher up compared to our size. I was asking, what is 9/11? And Kayla stood up the tracks like this.
I do not remember this. No.
And Mom was in there doing laundry. I don't remember what vehicle we used, so I'm going to use the Surfin' school bus to symbolize that an Airbus is a kind of plane. Kayla said, someone flew a plane into the tower, and the explosion was so loud, everyone in the world heard it.
I don't remember saying that.
And Mom said, I didn't hear it. I don't think everyone heard it.
The rest of the world hears you.
And then I guess at some point you just hit the second one. And I don't remember anything else. But that's what I had you come here for.
That's it? I'm done? You just wanted to tell me that memory?
Do you remember it?
No, I don't remember that at all.
Mom, do you remember it?
No, not necessarily. I think you construct your own memories sometimes.
Dad, you weren't there. How does he remember it?
I think I heard about it later.
It may have happened, I just don't remember.
Well, I heard 9/11, you guys didn't?
In the most insane way, this movie brings me back to childhood because it's been a long time since I've seen any program that's 45 consecutive minutes of mourning the World Trade Center. Like, is it me or does no one celebrate 9/11 anymore? There's absolutely no fucking holiday spirit. We forgot to never forget. Last year at like 10 p.m. on a random evening, I put an Instagram story up that said, R.I.P. Amelia Earhart, she would have loved airplane mode. And my friend DM'd me saying, weird day to post about airplanes. It was 9/11. And I didn't even know the entire day. That never would have happened. like 5 or 6 years ago. Because there were new documentaries about the plane hijackings or whatever on like every channel. Children used to fall asleep on 9/11 Eve and then wake up the next morning and run downstairs and hear, surprise, there's a new conflict in the Middle East. And that just doesn't happen anymore. Although there is a new conflict in the Middle East. The vessel struggles to figure out how to handle the Tigers. It stocks up on munitions from a nearby vessel in the off chance of deployment. There's a tense and dramatic confrontation about the possibility of a carrier with civilians heading into active combat.
We're topping off with weapons and supplies we would want to have just in case we are deployed.
So you're saying we could be going into a battle?
It's always a possibility with a carrier, sir.
Gary ultimately decides to pull the ship from its holding pattern and dock in San Diego to drop everyone off. And it's then that he delivers this tragic news to Chuck.
I'm sorry. The Pentagon has reported that your brother has been listed as missing.
Thank you.
God, Jesus Christ. Then the kids decide to have fun and drum in the kitchen with Chuck's son, and Maddie decides that they need to put one activity back on the schedule. Then everyone unfurls a giant American flag. Also, throughout the whole movie, there's a ton of shots of Gary in front of a horrible green screen. And it's like, was the ship not available these days? What happened? So everyone gets dropped off. All the kids say goodbye to their loved ones who serve on the vessel. So the movie starts with Tina being incredibly eager to enlist. And her sister keeps saying it isn't all fun and games. Well, she completely drops off in terms of relevance throughout the whole second half of the movie. It's kind of crazy. But I was expecting 9/11 to make her realize like, oh wow, it is serious. Maybe I don't want to enlist. But I was naive to think this movie would end with a character not wanting to enlist in the military. So she just recognizes that it's all very serious now, but she still wants to join just as much as she did in the beginning.
We are the first line of defense for this country. And a lot of times we have no idea what we're flying into. But you have to do your duty.
I don't know if that counts as a character arc, but no, that doesn't count as a character arc. Joey asks his mom to get ice cream with him before she leaves, and Chuck tells his son he's proud of him. I'm not sure what part of his character arc led him to that conclusion. I think he's just so emotionally devastated by the loss of his brother that he lost the capacity to be a giant asshole like he was in the rest of the movie. And you know what? That's an arc. It's not. Anthony is no longer a rebel. He is now a loyal American. And he did have a complete arc, but it's kind of sad. He just lost his whole personality. Now he takes everything very seriously and recognizes that all rules are there for a reason. And Maddie, seeing now how important her father's line of work is, asks him not to come home and instead keep serving the country, which he agrees to.
Dad, what if something else happened? I mean, what if it's not over? What if we go to war or something? Maybe I was wrong. I mean, I want you to come home, but I don't want you to quit. I think you should keep doing what you're doing. I'll be okay.
And he just called his wife yesterday to tell her he's coming home forever. Think about the emotional whiplash that poor woman has. The movie forgot that this decision might affect the other family members emotionally. This movie's ending is retroactively really depressing because the United States military operations following September 11th that she's telling her dad are more important than coming home were very famously not successful. And that's unanimously agreed upon by all corners of the political spectrum.
Look, it was a mistake to vote for that.
The war in Iraq, we spent $2 trillion, thousands of lives. We don't even have it. George Bush made a mistake. We can make mistakes, but that one was a beauty.
The decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of of Ukraine. Iraq, too. Anyway, 75.
She's literally out here like, Dad, destabilizing the Middle East and spawning ISIS is more important than our family being together. Like, if her dad had actually done something impressive, I think I'd understand her sentiment here. But literally all he did was be like, you guys go stand on this part of the boat and do not comfort your crying children. And Maddie's like, Dad, you're a hero! Like, she's acting like he fucking stopped 9/11. Then the dramatic and somber movie ends with a pop song.
When the world goes crazy, you won't let go. When the ground gets shaky.
My Hero Is You has gotta be in my top 15 9/11 related teen pop songs.
When the world goes crazy, you won't let go.
Yeah, we're good. Okay. I mean, unless you have any closing thoughts on the film.
No.
Imagine if instead of Tiger Cruise, this movie was Jungle Cruise, where a girl does not respect that her father spends all day working at Disneyland's Jungle Cruise attraction, making puns as a boat goes on a motorized circuit. But then she goes to Disneyland to spend the weekend with her father on the boat, and she comes to appreciate how good all the puns are.
They all have their trunks on. Some have their trunks down though, so don't take a picture of that.
And she says, Dad, keep working the Jungle Cruise as a skipper, please. And he says, I will, daughter. That's way fucking better than whatever the fuck The Rock did in that one. This movie's like a genuine fever dream. All of the traditional hallmarks of a Disney Channel original are here. And then midway through it becomes this incredibly depressing, endless sequence of characters sobbing.
Oh my god.
It's a recruitment tool that aired on the Disney Channel. It's incredibly strange, but I feel like Gen Z became too smart for this. Probably millennials too. Like, I remember military recruiters would show up to the classes in high school and everyone would just make fun of them to their face, and it was kind of iconic. And then they'd find us on Instagram and Snapchat and shit, and they would DM us. And like, think about how weird that is. You're a grown-ass man and your job is to DM random children to tell them to join the military. American patriotism is like fundamentally built on the back of ignorance of other cultures. Now that everyone's grown up freely roaming the internet, it's a lot harder to paint other countries and... I shouldn't have duct taped that to the wall. You never know when pride-themed duct tape's gonna come in handy. If you fall down again, you hate America. Now that everyone's grown up freely roaming the internet, it's a lot harder to paint other countries and cultures as morally repugnant, abstract others who need to be stopped than it was back in the 50s, when everyone can befriend anyone from those other countries from the comfort of their bedroom now. I'm internet friends with a British man. Imagine explaining that to George Washington.
Being patriotic means to come together as a country and, help others and be free,
Patriotism, to me, it goes beyond that I'm from America. It's about love of mankind.
So many of this movie's overtones feel gross to me. It's emotionally exploitative. It's encouraging children to sign up and die without actually showcasing any of the risk involved. And yet I genuinely think this is the best produced DCOM ever. It has the best production value. It has the absolute best performances and cast, and a willingness to treat kids maturely and discuss extremely heavy subject matter, even if all those conversations circle back to how morally great war is. You know what else was weird? The New York Times response to this movie, which didn't find it patriotic enough. The review says Tiger Cruise feels polarizing rather than patriotic, and it cites this scene where someone objects to Chuck saying we should go after them with everything we've got. And apparently this flag on the aircraft carrier is too unintentionally reminiscent of George Bush's mission accomplished speech. And they're so right. This movie is not patriotic enough. Anyways, 10 out of 10 movie. I love my country. I'm gonna go serve. I'm gonna go fight terrorism.
I am Osama bin Laden.
Not if I have anything to say about it. It's time to throw you in the bin, Laden.
I am still Osama bin Laden.
Not today! Bin la-di-da, motherfucker!
Bin Laden smash!
I don't care what you say, Osama. If loving America makes you gay, then stick your dick in my mouth. Do it! Do it right now!
That was totally unprompted.
Stick 12 of your finest, strongest Al-Qaeda soldiers' penises down my throat. Cram them, buddy.
I didn't set that up at all. That
I
was
love
all
my country.
you. You just wanted to say that.
What?
Nothing in the world can stop me now!
You never know when prize beam duct tape's gonna come in handy. Don't worry, it's Bush. Don't worry, it's Bin Laden again. Where the hell? He's escaping.
I'm escaping.
He is escaping.
I am escaping.
He's multiplying.
I'm multiplying.
He is multiplying.
I am multiplying. I'm about to jihad this foot up your ass.
It's time to Navy SEAL the deal. 1, 2, 3. Where's the fourth Osama?
Now I shall orchestrate my next plan. 9/11, 2 through 15.
To be continued in Kian Carlisle's 401,217th subscriber special.
Yep.
I need to close my eyes.
Okay. Yeah, Bush is coming. Okay. All right. Whenever you're ready.
I'm ready.
Don't look at him. You just said you'd close your eyes.